That'll be the opening. He pooped his pants. Hello and welcome to the Nerd Age Podcast. This is a show where we talk about everything nerdy. My name is Jonah, and I'm here with Josh.
What's up?
We're just a two-seater today. We're just rolling with two. Corey is it's Thanksgiving tomorrow, so we're very thankful for all you listeners. But Corey is over with his wife's family, and Mick is somewhere. I'm sure doing some Thanksgiving stuff too. But we're just gonna. Josh and I watched Gladiator 2. And so we are just going to be discussing Gladiator 2. If you haven't seen it, come back because we're going to be talking spoilers. If you have seen it, stick around and listen to our opinions and see if you agree with it or not. Josh, we're both huge fans of the first Gladiator.
I mean, I don't know. Did I have it on my top 10?
I think we both
movies?
did. Yeah, we both had it.
I can't remember. I might have dropped it off, actually.
Not on your top 10?
I don't remember.
For best? But it was on your most anticipated list.
No, Gladiator 2 wasn't on my most anticipated list. It was for you. I think it was for all of you guys except for me because this was my stance coming into it was who needs Gladiator 2? You know what I mean?
I did.
The first one is amazing. One of my favorite movies.
But not in your top 10?
I don't know. Maybe. I can't remember. I'll have to go back.
I'm pretty sure it was.
It's close
because it was on mine. We had a lot of similar ones on ours.
Yeah, I think I made an editorial decision to say, hey, I'm going to drop Gladiator down so that let's get a little different variety. It's like 11, you know. it's up there, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, Gladiator 2 wasn't on my most anticipated. So going into this, I didn't know what to expect.
You had low expectations then.
I had very low expectations.
Okay. And what did it end up feeling like?
I think this movie, like visually, it's really good, amazing, great cinematography. The acting's great. All the actors do a great job. I think story-wise, I was actually impressed. It was better than I expected because it seemed like we were just going to do a rehash of what the first one was. And so I was surprised, pleasantly surprised that it was, there was a little retread. But overall they introduced like other dynamics, more political things going on, which I thought that was interesting. But I mean, overall, I think it was a fine movie. It was, I would say it was a good movie, but I don't think I think it's just too bad that the first one was so amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just like, in comparison to the first one, you're like, oh. Not even close.
Yeah, I agree with you. The biggest issue for me is the whole time I'm watching it, I love the first one. Like you said, it was on my top 10 list. I just absolutely love the first one. I think it might be, if I had to do a top 3 or top 5 movies, like it would be there. Like Gladiator is amazing. And the issue with this one is on its own, if the first Gladiator didn't exist, I think this would be a really good movie.
Yeah.
But when you're watching it, you start comparing things. I think one of the biggest ones is the score in Gladiator, like Hans Zimmer, what he does in Gladiator is maybe one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. I just think he does something so unique. It's emotional. It's different. There's different styles in even the soundtrack itself. You know, from the marketplace to the arena. Like he uses different instruments. It's just crazy how good that soundtrack is. And this one, the best parts of the soundtrack were the moments when it was copying the Hans Zimmer themes. The same thing with the main character. So Lucius, what's his name? Paul Mescal does a great job, but he's not on Russell Crowe's level. And so for me, there's those emotional moments that Russell Crowe really nails. A perfect example is when he gets to his wife and son, right? And his wife's hanging there and he goes and like is touching her feet and you got the snot that's all over there. Like that scene is incredible. Now there wasn't a scene like that for Lucius to hit, so maybe that's the case. But to me, it's like Russell Crowe's on a completely different level, and I just think because of that, you're always kind of being like, oh, that wasn't as good. The other one too is the Two Emperors. They do a good job, but nothing close to what Joaquin Phoenix does. So to me, on those levels, those are three things that I just think the first one completely nails. And these ones, even though they were good, they didn't get to that point. So it's hard for me not to feel a little like, oh, that wasn't as good.
Yeah.
So I just feel like because it had the first one to live up to, it lowers it for me, but I still really like this movie. I think if this one was not connected to it, it would be like, wow, that was a really good movie.
I think the worst thing about this movie, and it's not even, I know you're saying like, oh, he didn't really have, the emotional beats are there in the first one.
Yeah.
I think this one just doesn't get there.
Right.
For me, there's not a gut punch moment. There's not a really strong emotional moment. I just kind of felt the whole time like, oh, okay. Like we're just moving on. They try to do that with the wife. Like they introduce you to him and his wife, and you're like, oh wow, what a nice little family they have here in whatever it was, Nubia or whatever it was in Africa. And then they kill her off.
Yeah, Nubia, huh?
Yeah, I can't remember what it was called. So then they kill her off, and then they almost play it off like I wasn't buying into why he hated Pedro Pascal's character so much, because it was like, hey, I'm just a general here. And it's not like he decapitated his wife or anything like that. And I think they kind of painted themselves into a corner because they want him to be a likable character still.
Yeah.
And so that you can't just have him be like, I'm a brutal, I'm going to murder everybody. I mean, he kind of just was like, hey, get the archers. They're up there. He pointed up there. Yeah. And then they shot him. And then he was like, oh, I'm really going to kill this guy. I can't believe he did that. You know what I mean?
It was more so because he's the general. He comes in. You're right. One of the big reasons Gladiator works is the Emperor's despicable.
Yeah.
And so the vengeance story is like, yeah, I want you to get this guy. This one, the vengeance story doesn't hit because Acacius is basically Russell Crowe's character. Yeah. Like he's a general.
Right. He's doing
the same thing. He's being forced to do what the emperors want him to do. He's kind of like he's tired of the warmongering.
Right.
He doesn't like what he's doing.
He's gonna
overthrow them. So he's basically Maximus.
Yeah.
And so I guess it doesn't work on the level, like you're saying, of the vengeance story.
Right.
But what I thought it did work was in that final moment when they're fighting, when they're both going after each other. I was like, oh, this sucks. Because they're both basically the guys you're supposed to root for.
Yeah.
And one of them has to die. So I thought that was interesting. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Spartacus, at the end of Spartacus when they're like best friends have to fight and one of them has to die.
For Spartacus.
And so I thought that's what they were going for. But you're right. There's not, in the first Gladiator, there's some emotional stuff that happens that gets you there. This one doesn't really have that. Because as soon as I saw his wife, I was like, she's going to die. Because they need to have something. But it's also, it's different. She dies in battle.
Mm-hmm.
Maximus's wife and kid are murdered.
Yeah. Like
by his own soldiers, basically, right? By his own empire. So there's a difference there. I did like the whole aspect with Lucius and his mom and that whole dynamic that, Acacius is now married to her, like that whole, like, I guess, triangle or whatever. I thought that was different. And it brought a different like flavor to it. But I do agree. I think there wasn't that reason to hate. Right. And you kind of need that.
And I mean, I do like that dynamic that they set up with Acacius being or not married or whatever with Lucius's mom. So like setting up that aspect, and then even all the additional things that they're doing, like, oh, we're trying to set up a coup basically. Yeah. And when are your men going to be ready? I thought that was the most interesting part of the movie, like kind of setting that other stuff. But I feel like it is just missing that emotional punch, because even when Lucius and his mom, like, he's like, get out of here, I don't even want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he's like, Mom, I love you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like there was something that connected it that makes. He did say he's got like two extra hours of that he might release. So I'm like, okay, well then they must have had to cut out some stuff, because yes, in the first one he's like, you don't know me,
right?
And then after he's like, oh, hey mom, kind of thing.
Yeah, and then I think that's what was missing. Like even him in the arena to be like, go with Acacius to be like, oh, I'm not going to kill him.
Yeah.
There was something missing. He didn't get any additional information from Acacius that would reveal to him like, oh, Acacius is actually a good guy. You know what I mean? We get to see that as the audience, because we see the scene where the emperors are like basically threatening him of like, oh, we're going to kill your wife, basically. So we get that information as the audience, but I feel like Lucius doesn't get a chance.
He says that. I think he does, though. Well, I think what they were banking on is when he says, like, I don't want to hurt you. Like, I'm not going to, like, he basically says, kill me kind of thing, right? Yeah. Is that after they fight?
I think it's during the fight.
Okay.
He basically says that. But you know what I mean?
Right.
To go from, it was already kind of a manufactured hatred for him anyway. So, like, to go from that, like, oh, he really just wants to, he tells Denzel's character, he's like, just bring me his head. Yeah. That's all I want. And then for in the moment to just be like, okay, just treat my mom right. Yeah. You know, be a good guy. It was just kind of missing. So maybe in the 2 hour.
I think there might be something like that.
Maybe there's something there. But yeah, I think for me, that was the biggest like detractor of the story, is I didn't feel that emotional gut punch or that emotional tie that I should have felt with that character. And I think he did a good job as Lucius. Like I think he was a good protagonist. I like the kind of like smaller. The first Gladiator does this really well with as Maximus fights with the guys. You know, they look up to him as a general, and I thought they did a good thing, small things with Lucius and his crew also, like how they slowly start respecting him. I thought that was well done, but I think there was just like I was missing a moment. Just like an emotional moment. Even I feel like we missed a moment where she says like, "Oh, you're Maximus," right? And he puts the armor on, but I feel like it was like almost like hollow. You know what I mean? Like that should have been like I should have had goosebumps.
Yeah.
And I feel like
had that mask when he comes out.
The score didn't hit.
Yeah, that was a big problem. That's a big issue.
And I thought it was going to, because on the track they have like, it even made a big deal. He's like, oh, this is Lucius becoming Maximus.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel like it had that moment, like to the build up to.
Yeah, I agree. It's missing. The other thing I thought, and it sounds like we really hated this movie just because we're going, but we're comparing. Again, I like this movie. But since we're talking about things that just didn't hit as well, there's an element about the first Gladiator that it has some all-time great lines, you know, like that you still like that give you chills, right? When he's like, you will remove your helmet and tell me your name, you know, and then he's like, husband to a murder son, husband to a
whoa. It was ancient Rome, so.
Father to a murder son, husband to a murder wife, and I'll have my revenge in this life for the next. Like, that's a line that you're just like, what we do in life.
I say it every time I wake up.
Exactly. What we do in life echoes in eternity. Like, even stuff that the Emperor has, like, busy little bee. Like, those little, like, monologue moments that are just so good that you have, like, those are iconic lines.
Yeah.
This one didn't have that, and they tried to give Lucius some when he's talking to like the guys, the gladiators,
his boys.
But I'm just like nothing. I can't even remember what he was saying. Like there was a line he said at the beginning of the movie, and then at that moment, like something about death, like death.
Death is doesn't, where you are, something like that, something along those lines.
Right, but
you are not. But
it's not as memorable. Even the whole strength and honor, like that kind of stuff that you're just like, it's become part of the culture This one didn't have those things. And so you put that all together, and even though it's still an enjoyable movie, when you put it up against Gladiator.
Right.
One of the things that I thought I thought Denzel Washington was good. People are complaining about him not using an accent. It's basically Denzel, but I'm like, I don't care. Like, he's still like, his whole arc. At first I was like, oh, he's the good guy, but then you start realizing, oh no, he's actually the villain.
Yeah.
And he's manipulating everything, and he does a great job at doing that. Even the whole thing about him getting the information and setting the trap, like that whole thing, I did not expect that. I was like, oh, he wants to overthrow the emperors. He's gonna, but no, he's like, oh no, I'm gonna use this to my advantage. I thought that was unique to this story. That I thought was crazy, and I thought it was really good. So Denzel did a really good job too for me.
Yeah, I thought he was really good. It almost seemed like he kind of tried a slight accent. You know what I mean? Like a little bit. It wasn't just straight up. It didn't bother me though. But yeah, I thought he was really good. But yeah. Like I said, that part of the story I think was interesting, like seeing the kind of three different parties and see how he manipulated the emperors at the end, where he's like basically turns them against each other. I thought the emperors were good too, like the not the Stranger Things guy, but the other one. I thought he kind of looked like Joaquin Phoenix a little bit.
Yeah. You mean the guy that had syphilis?
Yeah, is that what he had?
I'm pretty sure that's right. It rotted his brain.
Oh, I don't know. I thought he was just, he had something.
Yeah, because it's like the sickness of his loins. I'm pretty sure it's like, syphilis or whatever.
But I thought he was really good. I like that scene where he's like,
he names the monkey.
He names the monkey. Yeah, whatever and they're like, and then Denzel's like, yeah. I thought that was really cool. But yeah, just like that storyline was cool. The interactions were good. And yeah, I think the fighting was good. The water scene in the arena was really cool
with the sharks. I thought the monkeys were pretty awesome. I mean, I'd be terrified to fight a monkey.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool that like when he bites the monkey and then everyone else is going hoo 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 doing that. That was a cool scene. That's just kind of like just simple, but like you said, it brought the camaraderie of the gladiators and him, like depicted that well. Yeah, the emperors for me, it was weird. So at the beginning, I felt that the younger one was over the top cartoony.
Oh, really?
Like for me, it just felt that way. And then halfway through the movie, it switched. I felt like the other guy became like cartoony and he became better. So it was weird. It's a weird dynamic. Obviously, like, as things went on. But again, Joaquin Phoenix nails that part so well that these guys had a lot to live up to. I did also like just that whole, when he goes and visits Lucius' mom and he kind of sees the Marcus Aurelius's statue, and it looks just like, and that's where he's starting to figure out, even the poetry stuff, him talking about things, he's realizing who he is. I thought that was really well done. Kind of that whole, like him figuring out all that kind of stuff, I thought was a cool part of it. I for me, again, it's a movie that I think I really enjoyed, and it would be such a higher ranking if Gladiator 1 didn't exist.
Yeah.
I think all the acting is good. People were complaining about like the acting's not good besides Denzel Washington. I was like, no, everyone was good in it. If you compare it to Russell Crowe, probably not as good as that, but still really good. The one thing that drives me nuts, that a lot of people are complaining about, they're basically saying like it destroys the legacy of the first one, because they're like, Maximus dies and he says Lucius is safe, and then Lucius isn't safe. I was like, what did you think was going to happen? You thought that a gladiator dying in a Colosseum is going to change the politics of Rome? Like, it seems silly to have that thought, to being like, oh, they just undermined everything that Maximus did. I was like, no, he set out to get his revenge. That's what he set out to do, and he did it. That's the whole point of the movie. He killed the emperor. He avenged his family. He goes to see his family, right? That last scene is him, walking through the door. Beautiful scene. So then to be like, well, now that Lucius, had to run away, it destroyed the legacy. I was like, no, it didn't. That's exactly what would have happened in Rome at that time. He's the heir. People want to get the throne. He would be the first to get killed. So it just, that whole complaint of like it ruining the legacy of the first one, I think is
it's the
trash.
same thing like we always talk about, is that someone's always like, oh, well, now that they adapted this, that ruins the source material. You're like, no, the source, it still exists.
Still there.
So that's kind of dumb.
Yeah, and it just drives me nuts because I'm like, it makes sense for the time period. It doesn't change at all what Maximus did and the whole point of the first one, just because Lucius is not safe anymore. Did it bother you that Maximus was his dad? Because that's another thing too. People are like, no, Maximus is unfaithful.
No,
and I was like,
not necessarily.
I'm like, this is Rome, guys. I mean,
does he say that they're the same age?
I don't.
He says they're about the same age, right? When he sees Lucius, in the first one,
yeah.
But it's already established that they.
In the first one, that's exactly what I was saying. Like in the first one, it's clearly, it's not spelled out to you, but it's heavily implied that they had something, and that now he is married and is with his wife.
And guess what? We're just gonna say Maximus was single at the time. I can't remember what her name is.
Lucilla.
Lucilla sounds right.
Yeah.
They established in this one, Lucilla, her husband, he didn't like women. So
yeah, that is true.
So in this case, Maximus is good, baby. He good. All right. And then had Lucius.
Exactly. And
then he got married.
Yeah.
He's still faithful in my book.
It's just a silly thing for me to like people would be like, it was heavily implied in the first one that they had a relationship at some point.
I wish they hadn't have leaned into it in the trailers. Like I would have preferred it just like, hey, just let me figure it out during the movie because that's the intention. But they gave it away in the trailer.
That they should have never let people know that was Lucius.
Right.
It should have just been like, oh, he's playing whatever his name was at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
That would have been much better because that gives you that moment of, oh, like as they start teasing stuff.
Right. Then you're like,
where he's like, oh, I saw him fight once. You're like, oh, did I see him in the background somewhere?
Yeah.
But yeah, again, it's another with movies now and trailers and people leaking stuff on social media. It's really hard to get any more surprises like that.
Yeah.
Really screws it up for the rest of us. Anything else you thought you wanted to discuss? I'm trying to think real quick.
No, I mean, I think overall, I think it's a solid movie. Just doesn't reach the levels of the first one. But yeah, I think overall, I think it's entertaining. We unfortunately had a lovely experience where a guy came up and was like, he's just like standing there. He walks up the other side first and then comes back around the other side. This is like an hour into the movie, the rhino scene.
Yeah.
So I'm distracted. I'm like, this guy's standing here. And he goes, these mother effers are in our seats. And he's like looking at us. And I'm like, no, dude. And I'm just like watching. I'm like, no, it's not. I saw our tickets. We're not in your seats. And then Josh was like, Luso was like, all right, walks over there to figure out what's going on, right?
Nice guy Luso.
Nice guy Luso. I was just like,
yeah, screw you, bro.
Movie started, bro. Get out of here.
It's an hour into the movie.
So he's over there. So it was a little distracting because I'm looking over like, what's going on? Am I going to have to throw down? What's going on? Turns out the guy was a day late on his movies. So his tickets were for the day before.
What?
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, he was also there with like a 12-year-old kid too. So
I was like, how did you?
I have no idea.
Late.
I have no idea. But yeah, so he got real quiet. He was real tough at the beginning. These guys are in my seats.
Yeah, and then you realize,
and then he realized
he's like, they are in my seats, but a day late.
Yeah.
What a clown. Ugh.
So yeah,
Man,
that was pretty fun.
That's kind of like the theater etiquette. Like people were talking about how, Wicked came out the same weekend and that people were filming and posting. Like people were posting on X and stuff like, hey, here's a thread, post you filming and singing during the movie. I'm like, what is going on? Like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm glad I didn't go watch that movie. Like, just the stuff that I've been hearing, like people like, oh, the people are singing and like jumping up in the aisles and like filming posting themselves as they're filming.
That's dumb.
It's like, come on. Like you can't do that.
You don't like fun?
Not when I paid, especially now when I'm paying like $17 to go to a movie.
Yeah,
like that's insane. I don't want to be
sit down
annoyed.
And shut up.
Exactly. You just enjoy it. It's crazy.
Well, I got up in the middle of Gladiator and had a little sword fight.
Yeah,
we were filming it. That trend didn't take off.
No,
dang.
No, it didn't. Probably because not many people watched it like they did Wicked. The thing about Gladiator, I did get chills at one point. I thought the ending was really good.
Where he was like,
the ending when he's like grabs the dirt in the same spot where Maximus dies, and he's like, "Speak to me, Father," and it it's like the hand.
They should have brought back Russell Crowe.
Fat Russell Crowe.
Yeah, dude.
He's like, life is good. But that, and then the song, like, that was just like, okay.
Yeah.
Like that sent me on a high note. Like I was
That's
like, okay.
It was a good way.
Whatever. Like, whatever. That was awesome. I loved the ending of it. Gave me chills. Part of that is the song. The song is just so good. When I went to the Hans Zimmer concert, when they played that song, it was just like, this is on another level. This is a spiritual experience. But yeah, I thought that it ended really well. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like people are taking it way too seriously. Like the whole aspect of like, he's a cheater now, or you ruined his legacy. He didn't save Lucius. Yeah. I was like, that's the first one is still intact. Don't worry about it. But that's what we have come to when it comes to movie talk.
Yeah, it's not that serious, guys.
No, it's okay. Not. I still think it's good for being on my most anticipated.
Yeah, you're still happy with it being your most anticipated?
Yeah, I think so. The wind just picked up.
What did you score it?
I would give it a 8.7.
8.7?
Yeah. I think out of the theater, I gave it 8.9. I'll give it an 8.7 after talking about it a little bit.
I think I'm like a 7.7.
7.7?
Yeah. I think it's still a good movie. But it's not like I said, for the reasons I already stated, it didn't hit the emotional highs that I needed for it to be higher than that. But still good, entertaining action movie.
What movies are better that you've seen this year?
What movies have I even seen this year?
Because I'm trying to think. I'm like, this is probably one of the better movies I've seen this year. I mean, Dune Part 2 is probably better. Oppenheimer would be better. But then after that...
Those came out this year?
Right? Didn't they?
I have no idea, dude.
I'm just going by what movies I've gone to see in theaters recently.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it's Oppenheimer.
Not as good as Venom 3.
So I'm like, this is probably...
Yeah, it's up.
Out of the better movies I've seen this year.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed it. If you haven't seen it, I think it's worth watching in theaters too. It looks great. Ridley Scott does a really good job. Obviously, it's rated R, so it's got a lot of blood and some other things in there that may be not appropriate for everybody. But I think it looks great. Acting's great. It's I think you got to take advantage of seeing Denzel in movies. We're not going to have him forever. He's getting older. He's getting up there.
He's
talking about retiring.
He's talking about retiring.
But the other thing that's been cool is there's a bunch of resurfaced clips of Russell Crowe talking about when he filmed Gladiator, and the stories are just awesome. there's that one, the movie starts with like the original Gladiator starts with the bird, where he's right at the brink of war and he looks and he's talking to like Graham Norton or something. And he's like, so it's the biggest movie, like of just meeting Ridley Scott. I'm so nervous. I'm in my whole garb. He comes out and he's like, all right, so what I want you to do is I want you to look at a bird. It's over there. I want you to kind of just smile as you look at the bird. Then as the bird flies away, you're going to follow the path of the bird, and that flight path of the bird is going to lead you back to the battlefield, and you're going to see. And he's like, and then you'll see that in your face. You're coming back to, the battle. And he's like, so he says, so I'm like, okay. He says, action. I look at a bird. I smile a little bit. He's like, I put a little color and accents there. And then he says, cut. And they show the scene when he's talking. And I'm like, it's beautiful. And then he's like, Ridley comes up to me. He's like, cut. And he comes up and he's like, we're gonna be effing great together, buddy. Because he's just like that, just that moment. And if you watch that scene, it's crazy just to be like, you get all that Ridley Scott asked him to do. Like,
just in
you kind of like start smiling, you kind of see, and then you're brought back to where you're at, you know? And I was like, man, that's why that movie is kind of incredible. Just that whole aspect of it. It's pretty cool.
I mean, I went to the set of Gladiator when I was in Morocco.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Nice.
We went to the marketplace. Yeah. I was like doing the blood stuff everywhere.
Nice. Did you put some maggots in a wound?
I did, yeah.
Nice.
It was pretty sweet. I had to eat it out, whatever he does.
I guess that's it. That's
it.
Hey, short episode this week. For those of you listening,
we salute you.
For those who are about to die, we salute you. As Thanksgiving approaches, we are thankful for you listening, for you hanging out with us. The two of you that are out there, you know who you are. We appreciate you. We'll be back next week. Corey will be back. Mick will be back, and we'll be talking about Arcane, the season 2 finale, everything about that. We're going to go dive deep into that. We got some James Gunn stuff that we're going to talk about with the Superman trailer coming and some kind of dumb things that he's been saying on social media.
Surprise.
But yeah, thanks so much for hanging out. You can find us on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook. We'll be back next week with more than Nerd Age. See you later.
See ya.